let's just wait for more students to join. I do see a couple of you joining, and then we can kickstart a very interactive session today. Let me see who all are here. If I could just get a quick hello from all of you so that I know who all are here. Hi Utri, hi Heer. So a couple of you have joined already. Hi Naren. So I do know a lot of panic is already set in, right? Because the exam is just scheduled this Sunday. And it's quite fair to have this question, which is what do you actually do on the day of the exam, right? Just one more minute or a couple of seconds extra, and then we may discuss. I also have a bonus tip to share this time around. It was something which was taught to me by my mentor way back in 2016. I thought I could just come up here and share the same tip, which is something you can execute towards the end of the exam, before the exam, when you enter the premises, right? In the meanwhile, I think it's time we begin just about now. Cool. So we do have a lot of students. Okay. What questions do you have, guys? Exactly. One thing I would suggest you do is tomorrow by 6 p.m. sharp 6 p.m. get ready with everything, okay? Which means you no longer have to, let's just say, wait for more hours to get a printout of the admit card, copies, photographs, all of that. Just keep it handy. Don't do anything on Sundays because you're, as it is, going to panic a lot, right? So by 6 p.m. tomorrow, just get everything wrapped up with. Okay, now you may start shooting up questions, all of you. Even if you want to get clarification on any query, everybody is nervous, I know. I also took the exam, which was way back in 2016. Hi, Utsav. So Suasvi is asking, like, the admit card should be color print out or black and white is fine. Either is fine. I prefer going for a color printout, but either is fine. Hi Vaishnavi. Ma'am, how does it feel inside a hall? Very nervous. But I'll tell you something. If it's any consolation, guys, just know that everybody else who's sitting next to you or you're surrounded by people, everybody else on the inside is equally panicky and nervous. So just in case if it's any consolation, and let's just say, guys, you take a look at the paper also, and all of a sudden you start to jump to conclusions. Don't do that. If the paper is going to be difficult, just in case, right, it's going to be difficult for everybody, so at the end of the day it's going to be evened out. क्वेश्चन पेपर का जो एनवेलप होता है बिना स्केल के बिना कैसे ओपन करें मैम? You don't have to overthink about these things. Utsav, everything will be taken care of. The invigilators, the staff there would be there to help you with it. Do we get extra time to fill the OMR? No, you have exactly 120 minutes. That is 2 hours to take care of it. Do we need to staple the first and second sheet of the admit card? You don't have to carry a stapler. If there would be a need for you, you could just ask them for it. Tia, right? What all things we must carry with us in the hall? Everything is mentioned in the admit card, guys. After this live, also do care to read the admit card. Carry your, admit card, your application form. Get a printout, either a colored one or a black and white one. A government ID could be your Aadhaar card, PAN card, voter ID, right? A transparent water bottle and a black or a blue ballpoint pen, right? And do not alternate between these two colors also. If you are going to mark your answers with the black, let it be at that only. Ma'am, can we underline while reading the passages? Because the consortium has also stated you can't, I suggest you don't. And in case you are in the habit of underlining, I would just say just slightly use your pen and perhaps put a dot under the keyword you want to highlight. Otherwise, steer clear of it. Just in case they make an issue out of it, it's better to avoid it. How many print of admit card should we carry? Carry 2 copies of everything, guys. However, your government ID has to be the original one. E-Aadhaar is not on, okay? Utsav is also asking, how should tomorrow be? If you're asking me, I wouldn't really suggest you study a day before the exam. And if at all you still feel a bit underconfident, I'd say by 4 p.m., 6 p.m. max, stop everything that you're doing. Do not take a mock tomorrow. Any predictions about the question paper difficulty? I do not like to predict about the difficulty. And also, guys, a piece of advice, and for any exam, not just CLAT, for just about any exam under the sun, never ever go into the hall having a very fixated idea about things. The paper could be difficult, the paper could be very easy also. The way it was for CLAT 24, 25, you never know. So be prepared for any curveball. Why do you think we also, vary the level of difficulty of every mock? Just so that we prepare you for the most unforeseeable circumstances, right? So that's also there. Because you have experience, that's why. My experience is an old experience now. I took the paper 10 years ago, right? But then again, if you would ask me 10 years ago, I was a novice and I was just prepared for any endeavor. I'm like, let it be, let's see. Sanjana is saying, do invigilators come in between to you in the exam time? They would be there perpetually. They would be there to monitor, right? That's the very job they have. Ma'am, in what order should we attempt the paper in? Nareen, this is a very subjective question. It's entirely up to you. I generally like the sequence in which the sections are given, but if as per your mock standards you have already adopted a particular strategy of attempting the paper, you go for it. But at the same time, on the day of the exam, if you feel you want to just do something different, you go for it as well, right? So adjust yourself to the level of difficulty of the paper. We have to carry print of Aadhaar card or the real one, guys. Government ID proof, real one, okay, original. How to handle last 30-40 minutes of paper? How to handle it? I mean, like, what I can tell is that by the last 30-40 minutes, most of us feel slightly exhausted because the maximum effort and focus goes in the first 30 minutes or so. So just keep cool, keep on solving. Do not judge the paper also, guys. Never ever judge the paper. I have given other exams also. There are some examples I made, major goofs up in. And that was primarily because I started to judge the paper. I was very quick to jump to conclusions. I saw a very difficult question. It just had the semblance of a difficult question. But when you actually get to solving the question, it's quite simple in nature. So your fear in itself could trigger a lot of negative things. Right? Ma'am, would we get a rough sheet to do working for quants? Yes, everything will be provided for at the hall itself, at the center itself. More questions, guys. Whatever doubts you have, you can just get it clarified here. Let me just see if there is. Can we mark on the question paper, Lavanya? Avoid it. Avoid it. Hi, Vinisha. Avoid making, avoid scribbling on the question paper. Just in case you get caught, they could just blow the matter out of proportion. I'm just saying, so it's better you steer clear of it. And if you really have this itch of underlining, because this is what you've been doing in the mocks, I'd suggest just use your pen and put a very small dot under the keyword or the adjective you wish to underline. We will be given 2 or 3 OMAs. Every instruction is given on the admit card O3. What if we mark a wrong answer? Mary has a question. What if we mark a wrong answer in the OMR? Then it becomes the wrong answer. You cannot fill in 2 circles at the time. It gets invalidated. So be very vigilant, guys. Be very, very patient and attentive while filling in your OMR form. What should be the routine on the day of the exam or before the exam? Good question. Wake up early. Don't wake up around 12. Don't wake up around 10. Because the examination slot is also around a time when we sort of just, tend to feel very lethargic and sleepy. So try and wake up a little early. I think out of nervousness, you would anyway wake up early. Right? And that's it. Do nothing. I will tell you a quick tip that could help you. 2 OMRs for what I'm not getting. There will be 1 original OMR and there will be 2 carbonized copies given. Vinisha, 1 carbon copy you can keep with yourself. Does the sample paper difficulty resemble the difficulty of the actual paper? No, it is only illustrative. This is what the instructions specifically tell you, right? It's indicative and it cannot be an actual reflection. It might be, it might not be. So for the ones who have also done exceedingly well in the sample paper, I'd suggest still don't gloat, stay a little grounded, because the paper could be, let's just say, even easier or more difficult than that. If the instructions itself, if they sufficiently state that it is illustrative itself, then it's okay. Don't take it for the actual exam. Ma'am, any last minute tips for the reading comprehension sections? Yes, I'll come to that bit. Okay. Nothing, you don't have to do anything, guys. On the day of the exam, simply sit back and relax. Don't even overthink. If you want, you can speak with your friends. You could watch a movie also, honestly. Ma'am, will the answer key be released right after the exam? Not right after the exam, within a couple of days. Right? Not right after the exam. You'll have to be patient for a couple of days. So, the tip that I wanted to talk about was don't read anything heavy on the day of the exam, which will be Sunday. What you can do is you could just cut out a piece of editorial from a newspaper you read regularly. For example, for me particularly, the Hindu, there's a section, it's called Know Your English. You could just get a cutout of that section, fold it, keep it in your pockets, keep it with you, and let's just say before you enter the premises, which is around 1, you open that cutout, editorial cutout, and just read it, right? And without judging it. Just read it. Don't try to make sense of what it is telling you, right? Because this habit actually gets you in the momentum of writing the paper or attempting the paper, right? Because the paper in itself is quite reading intensive. Okay, so that editorial cutout could be anything, it could be on any topic. Don't choose a very serious topic. Like I said, for me personally, the Hindu Know Your English section is quite good, right? So it's also like quite on the lighter side. There's a bit of humor involved as well. So you could do this. I did it. It was really helpful for some reason. Because let's just say if we stop preparing, we have stopped writing a mock 2 days before the exam, there's a certain jerk we tend to encounter then, right? So this would actually help you ease into the process of attempting the paper. Any last minute things for current affairs? Srinidhi, just revise as much as you can, but stop revising stuff by 6 p.m. tomorrow, guys. Ideally, if you ask me, I wouldn't suggest you do anything tomorrow, right? And just have faith in your preparation. There's not much we can do, right? It could be a very easy paper also, it could be a difficult paper also. It's just up to you how you choose to navigate the paper. And also keep in mind that curveballs will always be there, right? Curveballs will always be there. So don't get disappointed and don't judge the quality of the paper as well. What can I do today? Right now, well, from what I know, you're watching the live. Maybe later you could choose to solve a passage or two. I would suggest in the last 2 days solve more of passages because the paper is reading intensive. Otherwise, if you feel a little underconfident about GK, you could just revise the most important news, right? The IMS compendium, which we provided you with, you could just go through it quickly. Any more questions, guys? Whatever questions you have, I'm ready to answer them. So guys, do try this tip which I share towards the end, right? You could just cut out a piece of editorial from any newspaper. Choose one which you feel, the topic is, slightly humorous, would make you feel better. And then just read it. Don't read it when you enter the premises, but before you enter the premises, 5 minutes before it. And when you have space, you can just read it and get going with the exam. Vinisha says, ma'am, what should we do tomorrow? I think I've answered this. So, Vinisha again, ma'am was thinking about just revising GK today and tomorrow, was also feeling lethargic. That's okay. That's okay. You can revise GK today and tomorrow, but tomorrow after a certain time slot, do stop, right? Because you also need to give your mind some relaxation, right? A breather of sorts, because there's already a lot of processing we have done. How many, Mithilesh is asking, how many attempts should we do? It's entirely up to you. I mean, I can tell if we end up attempting most of the questions, we already know that we're finding the paper quite smooth to navigate, right? This happens in your mocks, you must have experienced this firsthand, right? But just because you're panicking and you feel underprepared and you already know that the paper seems difficult and you're not able to attempt a lot of questions correctly, don't make unnecessary attempts, because faltu mein you will end up losing a lot of marks. Okay, how many attempts should we do? Maximum if possible. And that automatically follows suit when you are very much comfortable with solving the paper. Ma'am, can you tell again what to do tomorrow? You don't have to do anything tomorrow. It's entirely up to you. I would put a cap at 6 p.m. After that, don't do anything. If you want, you can revise GK. If you want, you can just solve a couple of RC passages, CR passages. If you want, you could also solve a couple of QT questions. And if you want, you don't have to study at all. Just watch a movie, perhaps read something which makes you feel good, right? And also, guys, for GK, just because you do not know a question, do not attempt it, okay? We don't have to lose marks unnecessarily. 0.25 marks per question really means a lot. What else, guys? Any other question from your end? Do read the instructions given on the admit card tomorrow as well. Ma'am, please give motivation. Guys, just chill. It's an exam at the end of the day. Really, I'm telling you, it's just an exam. Uh, just the fact that it's a competitive exam conducted on a national level might just add to the pressure, but just relax is all I can say. Do a little bit of deep breathing. If you want, you can do a lot of affirmations also, if that really gives you the necessary motivation. In the hall, just relax, sit quietly. And what I would suggest you do is, don't, like, this is something I experienced when I was in the hall. I had a couple of students just discussing random bits of GK, which I think I didn't study. For a minute, I did panic and I thought, okay, perhaps this is something I might have skipped. But it doesn't really matter. Don't listen to what others are talking about around you, also. With so much preparation, but so much, guys, just go inside, write the paper. Perhaps if the paper is easy, you might just think that you finally did well. It's okay. Don't suffer so much in imagination. Face the paper, encounter it first thing. Utsav, if I were in your shoes, I would be equally anxious. So that's okay. Guys, let's just normalize feeling anxious, nervous, and fearful of the paper. If I were in your shoes, I would equally feel the same emotions. And everybody else sitting around you, I repeat, everybody else sitting around you, next to you, is equally nervous. Some people just don't like to show it. That's okay. Nimisha, if you're feeling panicky, just know that the other person is also feeling panicky. Yes, exactly. I do second Nandini, right? And ideally, guys, if you have really given your best, then you shouldn't feel bad about anything, right? Don't have regrets. Shri Raksha has a question, which is how to not get scared by seeing other people near center. Why will you feel scared of other students? Guys, they're also working as hard as you. It's okay. They're also there to attempt the paper. They also have aspirations to live by, right? Just focus on yourself. It's a life rule also. It's not something which should be isolated to this particular exam, right? It's something you can apply universally. Just focus on yourself. If you feel a little panicky, take deep breaths. Think about something nice. Think about a sweet memory. Okay. Any final questions, guys? I think I'm not seeing a lot of questions anymore. Majorly, everybody feels a lot of anxiousness, which is okay. And that can be assuaged, guys. Literally, just do a lot of deep breathing today before going to bed. Tomorrow, first thing, what you do, you can just do a lot of meditation, right? Speak positive words. And, now, at least for tomorrow and on Sunday, don't really speak negative words, right? Think positively about yourself, about the exam, about the efforts you've put in, right? It should definitely, come to fruition. If you've worked hard, you will see results. Scores in your mock sometimes might not be a reflection of how you would do in the exam, on the actual exam. I also know a lot of dark horses. I was a dark horse myself. On some days, when my average out of 200 used to be in 50s and 60s, on the day of the exam, I did exceedingly well. Because, like, I never got bothered by the scores. It was again a tip given to me by my mentor. So, he specifically told me don't get bothered by the scores, just keep on working hard. So if you're scoring in 60s, 70s, there are lots of reasons for it, right? You could just feel very panicky also. Guys, in panic attempting, we tend to make a lot of silly mistakes also. So avoid that. You don't have to mark anything on the question paper. One carbon copy of the OMR you can carry with yourself. What tip would I give on solving logical reasoning? One tip that I would give for both RC and logical reasoning is always focus on what the question is asking. Even though if you go by the sample paper questions, the questions are really brief and very simplistic in language, but focus on what the question is asking. Second tip is focus on the wrong options that you can eliminate. The rule of quantifiers: options that contain only, exclusively, primarily, solely, never, always. Don't blindly eliminate these options containing quantifiers. Do care to revisit the passage to cross check, and then eliminated. So rule of elimination is nice, and if you want, guys, why don't you just write down the rules which you have learned through writing mocks, which you can utilize, because very often we tend to forget about these rules. So why don't you just revise the rules which might help you, answer all the questions with precision and accurately at that. Any tips for AR, analytical reasoning TR? How many tips for AR? Can we underline? No, guys, do not scribble on the question paper. Also, guys, for the ballpoint pen, just do use the pen for some seconds so that the ink flows smoothly. Don't carry a new pen straight up, because then you'd have to scribble. It might occupy some time. O3 has a question, ma'am. The options containing quantifiers are generally wrong, right? Mostly yes, but then again, because it's RC, it's English language, you have to be a little flexible. Exceptions are always there. Nandini, these predictions we would be releasing as and when the answer key is out already. And you know what, guys? Also, stop watching random things on YouTube now. Everybody has different things to say. I think you don't have to process unnecessary information now, right? So, don't use YouTube for the next 2 days simply to watch these videos. Most of them are clickbait. One basic topic is what to carry on the day of the exam. Everybody else is doing it. You don't have to cross check. The admit card has made everything very simple and very clear. Just follow that. Soham says, how much does gut feeling play a part? I don't think so. You should go with your gut feeling in order to mark an option. I don't believe in doing so. You can have a gut feeling if your paper went well, but not use it to, mark questions. Ma'am, can you give some tip for quantifiers and elimination method? Just a second. Nimisha says, tip for quantifiers, elimination method. Like I said, options that contain only, primarily, exclusively, always, never, directly. Be mindful of this. Go back to the passage, cross check if these quantifiers are implied, right? Then options which are absolutely not given in the question, right? In the passage, options that go against the main idea. Right? So these are some of the tips. Overall, we have very broad umbrella tips for both RC and logical reasoning. How early are we to arrive on the exam center? As early as you can. I'd suggest be there at the center by 12:30 p.m. max. Uske baad, guys, you will just feel very nervous seeing the place crowded with students. It's better to just be there ahead of time. So by 12:30 p.m. you should be at the center. How much marks in sample paper full length mock is good? Guys, ideally I wouldn't want to discuss this, uh, but because like I have a student asking me this question, although I would suggest guys stay grounded for the ones who feel they've done well on the sample paper. According to me, for the reading comprehension and the logical reasoning section, reading comprehension is the full scorer. Okay, that's also because there is a very familiar pattern. All the correct options are the options that are the lengthiest, right? It's also easy to eliminate the wrong options because most of them contain quantifiers. And for logical reasoning section, that's also full scorer, barring the last part, which is your arrangement base, because I did think a lot of people are still not prepared with arrangement, these caselets. So otherwise, that for these two sections, Apnika, I could tell you these are full scorers. And for legal reasoning also it can be a full scorer. So this sample paper is actually easy. If you compare it to the level of difficulty that gets reflected in the IMS mocks with recent ones, this is so easy, right? Don't carry mobile. Okay, can we carry mobile phone with us? Do not carry any electronic gadgets. If you have your guardian or your parents outside, you give it to them. Okay, don't carry it, it's not allowed. Only carry an analog watch. If you're not sure for a question, guys, there's this rule. If any question takes you more than 2 to 3 minutes to solve, take this as a cue to mark it for review. Don't waste time on it. Because generally, if a question is easy, we tend to mark it within a minute or so, even if it's a logical reasoning question which requires us to think a lot. But if it takes you beyond 3 minutes for the timing, skip it. And once you're done attempting the entire paper, you can come back and solve it later. Again, I repeat, don't take your scores in the sample paper as a reflection of how the actual paper is going to be. Cool? So, I think, guys, any last questions? Because pretty much the questions are repetitive in nature. Anybody who has a different question, most of the questions I think I have managed to answer clearly. Anything else, guys? So, guys, don't panic. Again, everybody will be panicking. Just stay relaxed. It's a paper at the end of the day. It's just a paper at the end of the day. Have a very healthy mindset. Okay, have a positive frame of mind when you enter the hall. एकदम आराम से पेपर देना है, right? Because see, when you focus more on the quality of the paper and when you actually enjoy navigating the paper, all of a sudden you will feel the panic, mitigating. So that's important, right? Because if you're panicking, if you're feeling nervous, you will not be able to make sense of the passage also, even for the simple ones, right? So that's there. Relax. If you want, you can study a little bit tomorrow. Otherwise, you don't have to do anything. On the day of the exam, wake up a little early, right? Read a book, watch a movie if you want. And do remember to carry the cutout if you want. I personally find this very handy. Cool, guys. So I think with that, I would be ending the live. Best of luck, everyone. You've given your best. I think all of you will come out of the hall with flying colors this time around, because you've worked so hard. Endless my plan sessions, I remember. So that in itself, gives testimony of your hard work and diligence, right? And also you attempting mocks timely. That in itself is a very important part of practice, right? Okay, guys. All right. So, ma'am, do we have to carry extra OMR with us? No, OMR will be provided for at the center. Okay. I'll end the live with this. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much, everyone. Good night. And don't panic. Again, last bit of advice. Cool, guys. Thank you.